Hello, my name is Madhura Padge, and I'll be explaining about linked list, its implementation, and a few of its functions. So basically, this is how you visualize a linked list. So a linked list comprises of two variables, one of which is a pointer. So in the first variable, you store the data, and the second, which is a pointer, in which you store the address to the next node. As you can see, the address of this second node is 65, and that is why I have stored 65 here, so it directly points to the second node. Likewise, it points to 45th address, which stores the data 65, and then it points to null. Now here, whenever a node points to null, it indicates the end of a linked list. I'll explain a short program for this. So here, as you can see, we are creating a structure with two variables, data and a pointer variable, that is next. We come to the main function. Now struct node pointer head. Now this is where you create your three nodes or the three pointers that are going to point to your nodes. Now whenever you need to store data in your system, you need memory locations. So this is exactly what we are doing here. We are allocating memory to the data or to the nodes. So malloc keyword means memory allocation. Next we add data into our variables. So our head points to the first node, which has the data, which we have entered data 10, and the next points to the second node or the address to the second node. In the second node we store 20, and then we point to the third node, or we store the memory location of the third node, and the third node has the data 30 and it points towards null, which means that we end our linked list here. We come to traverse function now. So here you can see that we have introduced a new variable, which is pointer. So the pointer is basically going to traverse through your linked list. So here you can see, while pointer is not equal to null, till then you keep running this loop. So until and unless the pointer variable sees that we have come across a null, it is going to keep printing the data. So that means after 30, it will stop printing. Now I'm going to run this program. So there you go. We have 10, 20, 30, and after 30, as it points to null, which means the linked list has ended. Now I'll try to explain it with the help of Google Sheets. This is your code that we just implemented right now. Consider this area as your system location. So now here we come to the main function. We create three nodes and we allocate memory to it. So I'm going to create three nodes. This is my first node, my second node, and the third node. Now we enter data in it. So head is pointing 10. So I'm going to, this is my first node, I'll enter 10 here. And it points to second. This was my second node, and consider the cells as your memory locations. It points to H8. So I'm going to enter H8 in my next. So I come to H8 now. We have to enter the data 20 here. So I'll enter 20. And it points to the third node. So the location is J11. So I entered J11 here. Now I come to J11 and we have to enter the data 30 here. So I enter 30, and as this is the last node, it will point towards null. Now we'll traverse this. So first we check head. Okay, now the data is 10 and it's pointing towards H8. So we come here, we see the data that is 20, we read it, we take it, and then we check the pointer which is J11. So we move to J11. Now we see the data 30. We take it. Now we have the null here, and the loop says unless and until the pointer is not equal to null, you have to keep running the loop. We have come across a null now. Now we can get out of this loop. So this is how you traverse in a linked list. So our output will be 10, 20 and 30, after which it will stop. 10, 20 and 30. Now two of the very important operations in linked list are insertion and deletion. So you can either insert in between, in beginning or at the end. So I will start with beginning. Now suppose this is a node that you want to insert at the beginning of the linked list. So I'm just going to create head and next. So a linked list uses pointer variables. So this is actually the very basic logic here, that we point it to some node. Now if we have to add a node at the beginning, we just have to point our head pointer to that particular node, and this node will point to the node which was previously our first node. So I'm just going to check, it's G4. So we'll add here G4. The next node is at the location I9. So I'll add I9, K17 and null. So now as you can see, your head is pointing to F10, and likewise this node has been inserted in your linked list. Now if we have to add a node in the beginning, we'll just point the head to whatever is your first node. Consider this as your first node, and I have to add this node in between your second and third node. So I just have to point it in a particular manner. So my head is pointing to 10, it points to I9, so I come here 20. Now I have to add between second and third node. So here I'll change it to F10. Now I come to F10, I see my data. Now I have to go to the last node, which is K17. Now if we traverse, we see that the head is pointing here. So we have 10, we go to I9. Here we have F10, we come here. We have K17 here, so we go to the last node, and then our list ends. So if we see the output of this program will be 10, 20, 50, which is the node that we have inserted, and last 30. Likewise, if you have to point to the, if you had to insert a node at the end, you just have to enter your pointer here, which is F10. Now the first node is 10, the second node I come to 20, I change it to K17, I guess, K17, and my third node points to F10, and this will point to null. So we have inserted a list at the end. Now likewise for deletion, you just have to remove the pointer that you have pointed. Like if I want to remove K17 now, so I'll check, 10 is pointing to I9, which is the node that I have to delete. So I'll just not include this location, and I'll directly enter K17 here. and our second node is still pointing to F10. So if you can see that we have deleted this node. So if you traverse, we have our first node that is 10, which is pointing to case 17. Our second node that is 30 at location case 17, which points to F10. And our third node which points to null, that is the end of the list. So basically, when you have to add, that is insert or delete a node from a linked list, you just have to play with the pointers. That is just as easy as that. So that was it about linked list. Thank you very much.